After countless hours of in-game mapping on my ranger, I decided to take a detour to the Trial of Sekhemas. Why, you ask? Because Sekhemas is home to Zarokh, a time-manipulating bully who happens to sell an incredibly rare unique, the Last Flame Incense Relic, which is currently selling for over 260 divine orbs. Aside from that highly sought-after lottery ticket, the trial also includes other spicy offerings, such as the Grand Spectrum and Time-Lost Jewels, along with more antiques in your late grandmother's attic. Who knew an urn full of ashes could be worth multiple divines? With riches in mind, I set out with the goal of running 10 trials because it couldn't possibly take more runs than that to drop the last flame, right? To increase my odds, I quickly invested 2.5 divs into a combination of increased relic quantity and move speed relics with a sprinkle of honor resist and boss damage. These are the relics I used, but keep in mind I'm not a mathematician, theory crafter, or a scientist. Feel free to cook up your own trials recipe, stack more quant, defense, max honor, or reduced merchant cost. This all depends on what your build can handle. With only a 1 in 650 chance for the last flame, it doesn't really matter because none of us are going to find it anyways. With that said, let's jump into the runs and see what I found. Warning, Exiles, if you're only interested in the loot haul portion of the video, skip ahead to the next chapter. Now back to the video. The first run started off smooth enough. I blitzed through the first floor like it was nothing and entered the boss room with a lot of confidence, stealing myself just like my rangers suggested. Rattlecage died before he knew what time of day it was, and unfortunately I lost a lot of time fumbling the loot. Also realizing perhaps bringing in 9 extra tokens wasn't only unnecessary, but quite foolish. To make matters worse, at the time I didn't know much about the relic market and how utterly useless the vase and coffer relics were. Yeah, don't pick those up, they suck. Despite the time loss, I continued on after dumping loot in the designated tabs, not looking forward to the painstaking task of sorting through it in the near future. Anyways, I zapped my way through mobs and breezed through traps on the second floor, eventually meeting up for a brunch date with Rafik and Hadi, who met a swift defeat. Nothing bad happened on floor 3, and I definitely didn't get hit by any spike traps. Although I did gain the annoying golden smoke affliction, a few shrines later I was able to remove it and got Ornate Dagger in return. As I entered Ashar's arena, I had flashbacks of the Scorpion one-shotting me when I was going for my 3rd Ascendancy. Actually, here's the footage right here. Never forgetting a grudge, I destroyed him with Outcast on Shock, a tactical decision to inflict massive suffering onto the beast. So I continued on, rushing through the 4th floor, sniping punk-ass skeletons from across the screen. But 35 minutes into the run, I stood at a crossroads. Enfeeble or blunt sword? I chose the former and proceeded to click all the death crystals at a world record pace. I entered the portal, prepared to fulfill my sacred duty and collect 260 divines. Within moments of Zarokh talking shit, I had him below 50% life. Victory was in sight, until I hit a fucking stun orb, and then a second one. 37 minutes down the drain. 37 minutes? People told me this could be done in 25. I had choked like a baby trying to eat a T-bone steak. Watching a replay of my dog shit play did little to soften the blow. Defeated, dejected, and thoroughly tilted, I considered abandoning this video, or perhaps renaming it. I tried farming Trial of Sekhemas with quant relics, but I couldn't do it because I fucking suck. But you know what they say? When you get trampled by a horse, you have to cut off its legs and turn it into glue. So that's what I did. Thanks to the Harefoot boon, I flew through the second run with ease. Toward the end of the 4th floor, I did take a few hits, but never gave up. fighting my way back to that smug, time-stopping dickhead. This time, I played with my eyes open and brain turned on. I sat Zarokh down on my knee and spanked his ass to death, collecting 2 crappy unique relics as my reward. At least the loot room had 1 time lost cash. From there, I found my groove. Run 3's loot ended up being a bust, but in run number 4 I found an Against the Darkness relic. Run 5 was, well, let's not talk about run 5.
The end draws near.
Be not disheartened.
The rest of the runs were successful, though. Number 6 netted me 2 more crappy relics, but on run 7 my luck turned around and I found a Grand Spectrum loot box. Runs 8, 9, and 10 each netted me another Against the Darkness relic, which is actually quite lucky. Okay, so we're back in our hideout, and it's been 5 days since we did those 10 runs, 8 of which were successful. And this is what we have. Some waystones, 17 divs. The divs at the top left are all from sales. I got 2 raw div drops. This is all the raw loot down here. Everything in the top left, all those Exalts, the 260X and the 17 Divines, those are all from selling the relics. The Grand Spectrum sold for 10 Divines. I sold 1 out of the 4 Against the Darkness relics for 2 Divines. That is the floor price on those. If you list it for 2 divs, you are going to be spammed with offers. With that in mind, the total profit comes out to about 25 Divines if you count the 3 unsold Against the Darkness relics. Having said that, while I was editing this video over the course of the week, I ran it 36 more times and didn't see 1 more Grand Spectrum jewel at all. So I'd say it's a bit disingenuous to include those 10 divs in the total. Overall, that puts us at 15 Divines for 8 successful runs and with a decent amount of luck. I'd say Sekhemas is definitely a viable farming strategy and can be a lot less stressful and time-consuming than setting up towers and mapping. I hesitate to give a div per hour stat because this game is basically a giant slot machine at the end of the day. Still, I'd expect close to 1 div in loot, even if you're really unlucky. If you do try this farm, I recommend committing to several runs and dumping everything into a quad tab or 2, then sorting it to maximize efficiency. The 10 runs took just over 5.5 hours and another hour and a half just to sort through the loot afterward. Give it a shot and let me know how lucky you are down in the comments. If you like this video, please subscribe for more content.